So, what should be included in the scope of work when you're going to do a flip or even a new build? And a lot of people think that, well, I want a new kitchen, a new living room, paint, carpet, like you can do that, but you need to think of it in terms of sections. If I'm doing a very simple scope of work, it's pretty easy. You have the exterior and anything you're going to do out there, which could be driveways, it could be fence work, it could be landscape work, it could be some grading type work, and it'll include the exterior of the house, okay, the exterior of the structure. Maybe if there's an additional structure like a shed or a detached garage, anything that's outside of the interior of the main living area. Okay, so I have the interior of the main living area. That's my interior, right, where people live. And then there's the exterior, which is typically just outdoor stuff and can include additional structures, but those are not common, but it can be there. Okay. Some people you might say, well, let me put the additional structure, like let's say it's a suite or there's living space there, then yeah, maybe I'll put that in its own little category. Okay. And then so you've got my exterior, then I'm gonna have my interior, and that'll include all the different rooms inside the main home that's being lived in. Okay. Now, and we're talking single family here. We'll get to multifamily in a minute. But with single family, that's the easy way to go about it, right? And then what I do is I'll have a couple of sections in there, or maybe a lot of sections for each space. So if I'm doing something very generic, general, like, hey, we're just going to do all the flooring and all the paint, I might categorize it as interior paint, paint everything, including trim. Here's your colors, blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, we're going to do all the flooring. This room gets hardwood. All these rooms get hardwood. These rooms get tile. This rooms get carpet, right? And keep it real simple. Or if it's going to be a more involved, segmented type project where, hey, maybe I'm doing a lot more custom things, you'll see this in more expensive homes. I will literally break it out room by room. Now, even then, I still may have some general things. So I might have living room, kitchen, dining room, bedroom one, bedroom two, bedroom three, master bath, bath two, bath three, etc. Right? Laundry, pantry, mudroom, whatever. Uh, I still may have some generic things like, hey, we're going to change all the light fixtures everywhere. Hey, replace all light switches with, Decora style switches or something like that. So it'll be more granular, but still be a bit of a mix. And then again, if it's a much more intense project or much more customized, at that point, I will literally just section it all out so that every room is very specific. In the dining room, I'm getting this chandelier with this kind of light switch. I'm going to have maybe some wainscoting on the walls, two-tone paint, maybe some additional trim, right? But then when I go to the kitchen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have these cabinets with it, right? And I can get super, super specific. Okay, so the key is look at the scope of your project. If it's a very simple cosmetic rehab, your scope of work should be relatively simple. Okay, you still want detail. Please keep in mind, regardless, you want detail. If it's a medium-sized project, you're going to get more granular. If it's a very intense project, maybe a full gutter, full renovation of everything, I might have a very, very specific scope. Okay, so the complexity of the scope should match the complexity of the project. Now, again, regardless of how complex the scope is, you want detail. The detail helps you and it also helps your contractor. Okay, the more detail you put in there, regardless of how you order it, the better chance of a good outcome. When you walk a scope of work with your contractor, before you begin the walk, ask them, show them a copy of the scope and ask them, hey, please tell me all the details going through your head that are not on this piece of paper. Okay. If they're good, they'll have a lot to say. Okay. Now, if yours is super detailed, they might say, man, you've done an amazing job. I'm not sure what else. But most of the time, they're going to know and see things that need to be considered and talked about before you sign off on it. And that's the point. You want the contractor to effectively point out all the things that matter that you didn't write down on your scope of work. Okay. And that's a good thing. They're the contractor. That's their job. A good contractor should say to you, okay, you want to do these cabinets here in this kitchen, but do you realize that the floor is a little unlevel? So we're gonna have to do some floor leveler there. Or hey, we're gonna have to take off the backsplash, but we might have to do sheetrock work because we may not be able to reattach once the existing one comes off. The condition of the wall, we don't even know if there's backer board back there, right? Like, and they'll talk about these things to consider. By the way, when you're having this conversation, here's what almost always is going to happen. The cost of the project is going to probably go up a little bit because they're going to tell you about some things. Some of it will be things that you'll be like, well, we don't really need that. But some of it almost always happens will be things you actually need that you haven't thought about yet. And so they're actually kind of telling you potential change orders in advance so you can get your budget fixed up front to avoid surprises later. Okay. Having this kind of conversation with your contractor is very important. Now, if you're doing work with the subcontractors direct, the plus of that is you get even more granular with detail. The down Instead of depending on the GC, the downside of that is it's more work for you. Okay, so it depends how much you want to be involved. Okay, because sometimes the GCs they will sit there and be like, well, in their head they think they got all the details figured out. They almost never do, by the way, because when you really break down all the wisdom and all the subcontractors on a project, it can be pretty immense and it's really quite overwhelming. There's a lot of intelligence and experience that goes into doing a good rehab well. So as far as you're concerned, for the purpose of the scope, again, choose the setup that's appropriate for the project. Get the detail. Don't assume you've got it right. Walk it with the contractor or contractors if you're working with a bunch, and really fine tune that scope. Then go back to your budget and say, okay, of all the things that we just got, what am I missing? What is your number still realistic? 9 times out of 10, it will not be. Okay, literally 9 times out of 10. Okay, I've done this who knows how many times at this point, and I still go back and go, oh yeah, there was that thing. So oh yeah, this is going to cost a little more because such and such, or this is going to cost more because of such and such. I mean, we had one where, and I'll just give you an example where the paint on the trim, this was a house built maybe 30 years ago, it was oil based. And the painter forgot to notice that, and I didn't catch it, was hey, he thought he was just going to put latex paint over that. No, 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 that was not going to work, right? So when he started to do it, we had to stop him. We're like, wait, that's not going to work. And that's when we caught it. So even we missed it, right? Because the trim was actually in really good shape. So we didn't really give it a lot of thought when in fact all we want to do is change the color and we just simply forgot. Oh my gosh, this is oil based. If we want to put latex paint, we're going to have to prime it or go back with oil based, right? Oil based paint, by the way, is incredibly resilient. It works really well, but it has its own challenges. It's harder to work with. They generally charge more to work with it, and so on and so forth. So thankfully, we caught that error early in the painting process and got it corrected. Because effectively, if you put latex on oil base, it's just an appeal. Why did I just share that story? Because had we let that go on and he'd painted all that, we probably would have spent an extra couple $1,000s between labor and material that would have been a complete waste. Fortunately, the paint we had could be reused elsewhere, so we were good. But it could have easily turned out bad. So, details matter and they impact budgets. So, what goes in a scope? A level of detail that makes it crystal clear to you and your contractor what the goal is so that there's as few surprises as possible. There's always going to be some, but anything you can do to minimize it up front helps. The better budget you have as a result up front helps. helps everybody, helps you, helps your contractor, helps your lender if you have one, and so forth. So, hope you enjoyed this. Go create a great scope of work. Otherwise, please like, share, comment, subscribe. I will see you around.